Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a close look at a really fascinating federal court ruling. It touches on presidential power, but maybe surprisingly, how far that power reaches into the world of federal contractors. Our mission really is to kind of peel back the layers on this, understand the core facts, and figure out what it all means, especially for anyone involved with government contracts. So, the thing at the heart of this deep dive is a Trump administration executive order. Its title was, well, quite something: Combating Race and Sex Stereotyping. Now, it's controversial right away, but here's where it gets really interesting, I think. The way it was actually applied meant federal contractors could be penalized, like seriously penalized, just for settling civil rights lawsuits. That sounds odd, doesn't it? Almost counterintuitive. What was the idea behind it, and how did it end up penalizing settlements?
Well, what's fascinating here is the contrast. The administration's stated aim, you see, was to stop what it called divisive concepts in federally funded workplaces. Things like certain diversity and inclusion trainings that the order claimed promoted stereotypes or suggested the U.S. is inherently racist or sexist. But in practice, its implementation turned into this powerful tool that effectively punished companies and their lawyers too. And these weren't just, theoretical slaps on the wrist. We saw real consequences for businesses trying to resolve actual discrimination claims, even when those settlements included diversity training that most people would see as pretty standard stuff.
Okay, so that sounds like a really tough spot for businesses and their legal teams. I mean, facing that kind of pressure. Who decided to push back? Who challenged it in court?
Right, so that's where the national law firm Susman Godfrey enters the story. They didn't just object on principle. They filed a lawsuit because they and their client directly felt the consequences. What happened was the firm had successfully negotiated a pretty significant settlement for a client in a civil rights case. And, as is pretty common, that settlement included diversity training to address the issues that led to the lawsuit in the first place.
Makes sense. Standard practice, really.
Exactly. But what happened next was really striking. The government, pointing specifically to the firm's role in that settlement, went ahead and canceled a major contract the client had.
Wow. Just like that. Because of the settlement terms.
Just like that. And this wasn't just inconvenient, it created what lawyers call a chilling effect. It showed that doing something legally protected, like settling a civil rights case, or even just providing the legal advice to do so, exercising free speech, could lead to serious government backlash. It basically strong-armed companies, potentially pushing them away from resolving these disputes legally.
So a major legal showdown was inevitable then. And when the judge finally ruled on this, the decision itself was pretty significant.
Oh, absolutely. It was unequivocal. The judge declared that executive order arbitrary and capricious.
Okay, and for those listening, arbitrary and capricious, that's strong legal language, isn't it? It means the court found the government's action just wasn't rational.
Precisely. It means the court found it lacked a rational basis, wasn't backed by facts, and was essentially an abuse of power. The judge specifically found the order went beyond the president's authority and, crucially, violated the First Amendment rights, the free speech rights of the law firm and its clients.
Right, the free speech aspect seems key here.
Definitely. Now, if we connect this to the bigger picture, some of you might be thinking, hold on, didn't the Biden administration get rid of that order pretty quickly?
Yeah, I think they did rescind it, didn't they?
They did, yes, quite early on. But what's really insightful and why this case still matters is that the judge still proceeded with the case and issued a permanent injunction. This wasn't just about fixing past wrongs, although Susman Godfrey certainly suffered real financial and reputational damage.
Okay, so why continue if the order was already gone?
Because the court saw the need for a formal, binding ruling. It was necessary to prevent future governments from trying similar punitive tactics. It sends a message, sets a precedent. The permanent injunction basically blocks this specific kind of executive overreach going forward, no matter who is in charge.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's bring it back to the listener. What does this all mean for you, whether you're running a business, working for one, or just interested in how government works? It sounds like this ruling really reinforces a key principle, doesn't it? That the government can't just use its contracting power like a weapon.
That's exactly it. It affirms that the government cannot punish individuals or companies for engaging in perfectly legal, protected activities, like settling civil rights claims. That's a fundamental right. And this ruling says it can't be undermined by an executive order.
So it provides some security there.
Precisely. It fundamentally reinforces the idea that contractors and their lawyers can actually challenge government actions they believe are wrong without fearing direct retaliation, like losing a contract. And this, I think, raises a really important question for all of us to think about. How does a ruling like this affect that ongoing balance of power between the government, particularly the executive branch, and private companies or individuals when it comes to protecting basic rights and keeping legal options open?
That is a really good question to ponder, something to definitely mull over. And that wraps up our deep dive for today. We've explored some really vital intersections here: law, government power, civil rights. Thanks for joining us.